Carlos Puyol, a defender who lived for the fight, for the pain, for the chaos. A captain who looked the enforcers in the eyes and never looked away. And even so, even he admits something that sounds almost impossible. According to Puyol, Messi and Ronaldo didn't just beat defenders, they broke them in two completely different ways. One makes you lose your position, he said. The other makes you lose your belief. Think about that for a second. How can the same ball, the same pitch, the same objective destroy you psychologically in opposite ways? So today, we're not asking who is greater. We're asking something much more uncomfortable. Who would you be more afraid to defend? Before we begin, take a second. Like the video, share it, and subscribe. Because what you're about to hear isn't another recycled Messi versus Ronaldo debate. This is a confession, and it comes from a man who never backed down from anyone. To understand why Carlos Puyol's words matter, you have to remember who he was and where he stood. Carlos Puyol wasn't a defender who relied on elegance. He relied on sacrifice, anticipation, and absolute loyalty to the system. He played through pain, he played through chaos. And for more than a decade, he was the last wall between order and collapse. From the inside, he trained every day with Lionel Messi, watching him destroy defenders and train the same way he did on match day. From the outside, he faced Cristiano Ronaldo at the peak of El Clasico, when one move could decide an entire season. The numbers tell part of the story. Messi, even at 38 years old, still leads the attacking charts with 71 goals in a single season. Not through speed, not through power, but through involvements, touches, passes, decisions. Ronaldo, at his peak, put up seasons of 55-60 goals, often with fewer touches, fewer chances, but brutal efficiency. But Puyol isn't talking about goals. He's talking about what happens before the goal, before the finish, before the assist, before the mistake. He's talking about the moment when a defender realizes that something is slipping away, your positioning or your confidence. And that brings us to the first turning point. How did this confession come out? Carlos Puyol didn't make this confession in the heat of rivalry, or after a defeat, or during an El Clasico storm. He said it after everything was over, when the noise had disappeared, when the trophies were already in museums, when pride no longer needed protection. That's what makes it unbearable. In a calm interview, reflecting on his career, Puyol was asked a question he had avoided for years. What was harder, facing Messi every day or facing Ronaldo on match day? He didn't answer immediately. And that pause said more than any speech. Because for a defender like Puyol, admitting fear isn't weakness, it's an autopsy. He didn't talk about tackles, he didn't talk about aerial duels. He talked about mental erosion, about moments when you feel in control and realize too late that you aren't. That's when he drew the line that stunned everyone. Messi makes you lose your position. Ronaldo makes you lose your belief. Not beaten, not outpaced, but undone. Puyol explained that against Messi, defenders often thought they were doing everything right. The line was compact, the spacing was correct, the angle was closed, and then suddenly the structure collapsed without a clear mistake. Against Ronaldo, it was different. You knew exactly what was going to happen. The run, the jump, the strike. And still, you felt powerless. One dismantles you quietly, the other stares you down and finishes you. So what did Puyol really mean? To understand that, we have to break the video down. First half of the story. What does it mean to lose your position? When Puyol says Messi makes you lose your position, he isn't talking about bad defending. He's talking about something much more disturbing. Against most attackers, defending is a sequence. Track the pass, hold the line, delay, wait for support. Against Messi, that sequence collapses. Puyol explained that Messi doesn't attack space the way others do. He creates it by manipulating defenders' instincts. You think you're in the right position because the danger feels far away. The ball isn't close to the box. The angle looks harmless. Your body is open, balanced, ready, and that's exactly the problem. Messi doesn't force you to move. He convinces you to move. One touch pulls you half a step forward. A feint freezes your legs. A glance to the left shifts your center of gravity away from where it should be. And suddenly, you're still there. But you're no longer defending anything. Puyol said the most dangerous thing about Messi wasn't the dribble. It was the timing. Messi waits for the exact moment when the defender feels safe. Not panicked, not rushed, safe. That's when the pass arrives. That's when the acceleration happens. That's when the line breaks. And here comes the cruel part. When you watch the footage back, you don't see a clear mistake. No desperate lunge, no obvious slip. Just a defender who was perfectly positioned for a situation that no longer existed. That's why Puyol said Messi makes you lose your position. Because he doesn't win the man first. He wins the structure. He forces defenders to abandon their zones without realizing it. And once the zone is gone, the defender follows, calmly, silently, inevitably. But if Messi dismantles your structure without noise, Ronaldo wins in a much more brutal way. He looks you in the eyes and attacks your certainty. If Messi erases your positioning quietly, Ronaldo attacks something deeper, your certainty. Puyol explained that defending against Ronaldo isn't confusing. It's terrifying in a very precise way. You know what's coming. The outlet down the wing, the explosive 5-meter burst, the jump that feels physically impossible, the strike that doesn't need space. There's no illusion here, no deception, just confrontation. And that's exactly why Ronaldo is so destructive for defenders. Because even when you do everything right, when your body is aligned, when the distance is correct, when the cross looks harmless, you feel something break inside. Belief. Belief that good positioning is enough. Belief that timing will save you. Belief that effort can compensate. Puyol described moments where defenders reacted perfectly and still lost. Ronaldo rose higher. He shot faster. He finished sooner than expected. And after that happens once, something changes. You start defending not to win, but to survive. You drop half a step deeper. You hesitate before committing. You stop trying to dominate and start trying to limit the damage. And that hesitation is everything. Ronaldo feeds on it. He doesn't need you to make a mistake. He waits for you to doubt. That's why Puyol said Ronaldo makes you lose your belief. Because once a defender stops trusting their own decisions, the duel is already over. Messi disarms you without warning. Ronaldo overwhelms you with inevitability. One destroys your sense of space, the other destroys your sense of control. And that creates a terrifying question. What's worse for a defender, being wrong without knowing it, or being right and still helpless? To answer that, we have to zoom out and see what this means in the bigger story of football. When Carles Puyol draws this distinction, he isn't just comparing two players. He's describing two eras of fear. Historically, great attackers scared defenders in similar ways. Some overwhelmed you physically, others terrified you technically. But Messi and Ronaldo split that terror into two different psychological dimensions. Before Messi, losing your position usually meant you made a mistake. A bad step, a late tackle, a lapse in concentration. Messi changed that logic. He made defenders question the concept of error itself. You can do everything by the book and still be wrong. That forced an evolution. Defensive lines dropped deeper. Midfields collapsed faster. The entire team defended zones not because they were dangerous, but because Messi could make them dangerous. Ronaldo triggered a different evolution. He forced defenders to be cautious, not tactical. Fullbacks backed off. Center-backs prioritized cover over confrontation. Crosses were treated like penalties. Because Ronaldo delivered a brutal truth. Sometimes defending well isn't enough. And this is where Puyol's confession becomes bigger than nostalgia. It says Messi and Ronaldo didn't just dominate matches, they reshaped defensive behavior in Europe. One through control, the other through inevitability. And that's why the Messi-Ronaldo debate never ends. Because you're not choosing between two players. You're choosing between two nightmares, the silent one and the inevitable one. So when people ask, Puyol, who was harder to face, his answer isn't a name, it's a feeling. Messi makes you disappear without realizing it. Ronaldo makes you feel powerless while you're fully aware. And that takes us to the final question. Not for Puyol, but for you. There's something even more important than Puyol's confession. Something that goes beyond Messi and Ronaldo. When a defender of his stature talks about losing position and losing belief, he's describing two different ways football attacks the human brain. Messi represents uncertainty. Ronaldo represents inevitability. Against Messi, Puyol explained, the hardest part wasn't reacting. It was deciding. Do you step up or hold the line? Do you follow Messi or pass him on? Do you trust your instinct or the system? Messi punishes hesitation that lasts a fraction of a second. Not with force, but with consequence. That's why teams facing Messi often looked organized, until suddenly they weren't. The collapse wasn't loud, it was surgical. Ronaldo, on the other hand, removed the illusion of choice against him. Defenders didn't ask, "What should I do?" They asked, Can I survive this? Because Ronaldo attacks vertically, relentlessly, with total commitment. He didn't want confusion. He wanted confrontation. Puyol admitted that after facing Ronaldo a few times, defenders subconsciously changed their behavior. They stopped waiting. They started reacting. And reacting in elite football is already defeat. That's why Puyol's words matter so much today. Modern defenders are faster, stronger, and more tactically educated than ever. And still, nobody truly replaced Messi's manipulation of space. Nobody truly replicated Ronaldo's ability to shatter belief itself. Young stars can imitate the dribble, others can copy the movement in the box, but very few players attack defenders psychologically. And that's the real legacy Puyol is pointing to. Messi taught football how fragile structure can be. Ronaldo taught football how fragile confidence is. That's why their impact still echoes, even as time passes. And that brings us to the next part: reflection. Carles Puyol didn't settle the debate. He made it deeper. Because when a defender talks about fear, he isn't talking about losing a match. He's talking about losing control over his own decisions. Messi makes you question reality. Ronaldo makes you face it. One dismantles you while you think you're safe. The other crushes you while you know exactly what's happening. And maybe that's why football has never seen anything like this rivalry, and never will again. Two players, two forms of dominance, two different ways of breaking the strongest minds in the game. So when people argue about numbers, trophies, or Ballon d'Ors, they miss the most important truth. Ask the defenders, ask the ones who had to suffer, ask Carles Puyol. And now we ask you, if you were back there, in front of goal, heart racing, stadium, roaring, who would you rather face? The man who makes you disappear without a sound, or the man who makes you feel useless while you're fully aware? Write your answer in the comments. Like the video if this confession made you see the debate in a different way. Subscribe, because in football, the most powerful stories always come from the ones who had to defend. Carles Puyol didn't choose a winner, and maybe that's the most honest answer of all. Because his confession isn't about trophies, numbers, or headlines. It's about fear, the kind that lives inside a defender's mind. Messi takes something from you silently: your position, your structure, your certainty. Ronaldo takes something else: your belief that effort is enough, your confidence that you can survive the duel. One makes you lose without realizing it. The other makes you lose while you're fully awake. So now the question belongs to you. As a defender, what would you fear more? The opponent who avoids you in silence, or the one who breaks you face to face? Tell us in the comments. Like the video, share it with someone who still argues Messi versus Ronaldo, and subscribe, because the next confession might change the debate again.